Hello, my name is Dr. Tidwell. I'm the Associate Dean for the College of Technology and Engineering here at Westcliff University. With me today, I have Dr. Black, who is our Graduate Program Chair, also with the College of Technology and Engineering. Today, we're going to be talking about recognizing international students' unique needs.
Through our research and experience, we found that international students studying within colleges and universities in the United States tend to have different needs than our traditional resident students. Pressures they experience may include not only F1 or H1B concerns, but possibly also family and finances in their home countries. Found that international students may be continuing their education in new areas of interest, or even possibly pursuing further education in areas they may already be well experienced in. Recognizing international students' needs then helps faculty and universities understand how best to provide the education, maintain academic standards, and meet the unique requirements of these students studying within our universities. Therefore, the purpose of this presentation is to help instructors apply best practices in teaching and administrative techniques as they are particularly designed to help this student population.
In the academic year of 2020 to 2021, there were over 900,000 international students studying in the United States. And this is down from previous years where there were well over 1 million students studying in the United States. And you can see from this pie chart that 41% of our students come from China, where 22.7% come from India. So Chinese students make up a larger amount of international students in the United States by country.
Many issues exist within the higher education environment for international students, and international students then have different reasons for pursuing education within the United States than typical domestic students. And universities therefore may face conflicting challenges such as maintaining academic standards, providing areas of motivation to help international students perform in their courses, overcoming general challenges such as attendance, plagiarism, submitting their work on time, and so on, as well as helping students write academically when English really isn't their first or primary language, and also they're struggling with personal challenges, which may often include family or other concerns in their home countries. So what then are some of the expressed motivations of international students? In many cases, we found in our research that they are looking for income or have great financial plans. They may be looking for career advancement. Based on their cultures, they may be looking at social mobility, such as upward class mobility. In many cases, they may also be doing it for personal growth or even just gaining work experience. Overall, though, we found that there are many different reasons that the international students may be studying within the United States, and therefore our purpose and our goal is to find the best ways to help these students find their motivations and succeed within our particular environment. And at the same time, as educational institutions, we need to maintain and stress the quality of education within the United States. So international students typically have a specific aim in mind when they opt to study overseas. In many cases, then, as indicated, we found that it might be for personal or professional growth. And when it is, they tend to have a higher intrinsic motivation than local students who may simply just be continuing their education progression. Within the United States, the standard progression is they go from what we call K-12 education straight into college. They start going right into their associate's degree, working their way to a bachelor's, and so on. That is simply the natural progression, but that may be different than what our international students tend to experience outside of the United States. And so therefore, when students come to the United States and seek to increase or grow personally or professionally, they tend to have a higher intrinsic motivation. There is also a fear of having their student visa revoked if they don't pass a course, which then leads to a higher extrinsic motivation. Now, this doesn't mean that we should use the fear of that loss of the visa held over their heads as a negative motivator. And instead, we treat international students in the same manner as all residential students when it comes to satisfactory academic progress. Now, failing a single course typically does not automatically lead a student to losing their visa. However, sometimes students will use this as a plea when reaching out to the instructor or school administration, so we simply need to be aware of the process and of those requirements.
Students have many obstacles to overcome when they study internationally. One of the big one is culture. Not only do we have the linguistic culture and differences, but also that social and cultural diversity. Students require not only English language proficiency, but are also impacted by other personal environmental factors, including motivational beliefs, cognitive skills, and social engagement or relationships with other students. Research has shown that international students from Asian countries have greater adjustment difficulties than international students from non-Asian countries. And that's something that we need to take into effect because of that pie chart that I showed at the very beginning, where Chinese students are the biggest population studying in the United States. The most prominent concern may be lack of language proficiency and communication skills, and that really affects the student's social and academic performance. And when faculty and institutions are well aware of these factors that contribute to the students' adjustment processes, the international students are able to be better served by the faculty and administration. In particular, in line with the creation of a supportive learning environment for international students, faculty really do play a huge, crucial role in providing adequate assistance to them during this transition time to the U.S. academic environments. Other factors that students may have and obstacles in their life have to do with family. There's also personal life events that influence the students' resilience. And that family could be the family that they bring over to the United States to study with them. And it can also be their family in their home country. Some of our research found that there's a significant positive relationship between the negative life events that students experience and their resilience. The explanation of when and why adverse events help or harm resilience is related to the meaning assigned to them, the nature of the event, the available social support, and the individual's characteristics and adaptation strategies. If they have family who get sick in their home countries, that's problematic. If a war breaks out in their home country, that's another challenge and an obstacle that really affects the international students. There's a significant correlation between the resilience and the coping adjustments of the students in the face of adverse situations.
Now, studies have also shown that international student motivation is generally and significantly associated with their sociocultural adaptation. And so students who intend to return to their home country after graduation may not necessarily show or demonstrate a level of motivation to adapt to the American culture. Whereas students who are intending to stay then may have a greater motivation to learn and adapt to that American culture. So intrinsic motivation then might be a positive predictor of international students' successful cultural adaptations into the host countries. And it is that cultural adaptation that is important in leading the student to have a greater degree of success in the academic environment once they understand and recognize what the pressures are and the requirements are within our academic institutions. So international students then, as they demonstrate those degrees of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, may be influenced greatly by those around them as other fellow classmates who, let's say, may be more intrinsically motivated to stick around and thereby may help those students who aren't as intrinsically motivated for that purpose to be a little bit more successful. So we need to work with students to be much more proactive in helping them find those motivations and helping them to progress forward and learn about our American cultures and our academic institutions and those pressures associated with them. Now, students may also come from cultures in which such things as constant negotiation with instructors is common and accepted practice. For example, some students and cultures will plead for an improved grade or accept late work or even rework assignments in order to receive a higher score. And even if the instructor responds no, often the student will continue to plead and go back and forth. And if the student or if the instructor doesn't give in, then the student often may attempt to work the system, reaching out to others in administration or other departments in order to obtain those requests. In other cultures, some students may even take a more aggressive approach and use terms phrasing, writing styles, or other things that may be considered bullying within the United States. So these challenges are things that faculty need to be aware of and learn how those cultural differences may impact their ability to interact with these students and help the students be successful. So we can help those students learn what is acceptable and what is not acceptable within our academic environment. So the academic higher education system in the United States then is designed to encourage high levels of academic performance. And institutions of higher learning then are often accredited, and we are often visited in order to perform regular quality checks to ensure that we are delivering high quality education overall. So courses are generally written in a manner that helps students learn the required skills and knowledge and things that they have and would apply in the workplace. And therefore, our courses are generally written to be engaging and provide students an opportunity to learn and gain new skills. So faculty and academic leadership then strive to maintain high levels of academic integrity, of education quality, and therefore work with students of different academic backgrounds so that they understand where that pressure comes from in order to maintain the quality and integrity, and then retain our accreditation standards, for example. Now, one particular area where this is often seen as a challenge, especially with English as a second language, is in writing. And that can often lead to a greater amount of plagiarism.
Let's talk about plagiarism because it can really be classified into different categories. Some ranging from just insufficient citation, just not citing it correctly, patch writing, so changing the copy text by deleting some words or adding others, altering the grammatical structure, or plugging synonym substitutes to basically direct copying. Plugging synonym substitutes, I like to call thesauricize. Dr. Black, you have a really good example of that. Can you tell us about that?
So I once had a class in which I was teaching about disaster recovery. And in the IT world, we have specific terms that we always use on a regular basis, and disaster recovery is one of them. But when I received a particular student's paper wherein the term had been changed to debacle recuperation, every time I saw that, it was very easy to recognize that it had been run through a thesaurus because they were not using that actual official term of disaster recovery.
And unfortunately, we see that a little too often right now, and in our experience of taking something straight from the website and running it through a thesaurus. Now, oftentimes we do see grammar errors when a student writes a paper in their own language and then translates it to English. And altering those grammatical structures, that's just a learning opportunity that we can help students with. Now, using a thesaurus and copying directly is obviously plagiarism. But why do students plagiarize? There's so many reasons. Some students intentionally plagiarize because of personal motives and gaining unearned benefits. Others commit plagiarism accidentally due to the limited understanding of it. They just don't understand what plagiarism is. Many students understand the issue only superficially, and different cultures really view plagiarism differently. Some view it very negatively, absolutely not. Some cultures view plagiarism as insignificant. It's not a big deal. And some students view plagiarism as copying the work of an expert, which is really what it is. When we cite something in APA, we copy the work of the expert, but then we give the expert the honor by citing the expert's name and the date of the publication. So that is really what we're doing when we are citing our sources. And there's a huge debate between faculty treating plagiarism as misconduct or cheating, and those that see it as an educational opportunity. I want to really encourage everybody to use it as a teaching educational opportunity. We really need explicit and in-depth plagiarism training. It's essential for international students because all students come from different cultures, and some might not even know about it, whereas some view it as, insignificant and it's not a big deal. So we need to teach students to view plagiarism as a serious issue and teach students to accurately cite and reference material.
So among our recommendations then is first to increase our support of students' psychological needs. And so research then indicates that this approach may have a greater impact on international students than our typical local students. What I mean is then to engage in separate or individual dialogue with international students, in short, recognizing and acknowledging that they come with backgrounds and experiences that they can then share in the class. And that demonstrates a personal interest between the instructor and the student. And then the instructor may also demonstrate genuine care by recognizing that each student has their own interests and emotions. So instructors then also should display patience and acknowledge the students have struggles, as we've discussed earlier in this presentation. And when those negative events occur, it is important for them to work with the instructor in order to ensure that they may be able to continue to progress in that particular class, and also seek additional support when needed. And when English is the second language, as it often occurs, then it's important for instructors to display patience, recognize their difficulties, and increase their self-determination levels. So one option then may be to include such things as learning tasks that may be perhaps a little less stringent on their language skills and instead focus more on their overall learning or proficiency and demonstration methods, their skills, and so on. And then provide, as the university does, resources specifically for international students to aid in their writing and learning about plagiarism.
Our last recommendations are for the instructors. We just really want to encourage instructors to create supportive learning environments where students' psychological needs can be met to promote their self-determined motivation. Instructors should identify what international students' needs to fulfill their academic learning goals and should provide supportive learning that promotes their academic skills. And also that we need to strive to make courses interactive, engaging, fun, and interesting for international students, enabling them to also share their own experiences and input and their own culture. By striving to create these favorable structures that allow the international students to develop interest in learning by identifying the values of learning activities, faculty and institutions can elicit students' full and genuine engagement in their learning journey. Thank you.